Okay, hello all. This is going to be my basic introductory guide on how to approach component 3 of your BTEC music qualification using BandLab. And component 3, of course, is remaking a song in a different style. Now, you could get a choice of any song ever, and you could be asked to remix that in a bunch of different styles, or you could have a choice of loads of different styles, but you have to pick one. So for this example, I'm literally going to do Wonderwall, but in a house EDM dance remix. And I'm going to show you how I would approach that and how a good way to approach that is. You do need to do a bit of detective work. You do need to know a little bit about chords. You need to know a decent amount about chords, to be honest. But I'm going to show you the whole approach, or at least the beginning of that approach. The first thing I need to do, I always like to start off with drums. So I'm going to go on the drum machine. There's actually two ways you can do drums. I'll show you both. I'll start with the easy one, which is using the drum machine. Click on the drum machine. Now, it already starts you with a bunch of stuff in your face. You've got this colorful bit down here. You've also got this bit up here, which is drum machine, and then A, and drum machine, B, 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 B. It's already inserted some drums into our music, but I don't want that there, so I'm going to highlight it and get rid of it. Anyway, down here, you can see if I press play, it already has some drums for me. Now, this is always the default drum beat that it comes up with, which no one ever uses unless you are really, really lazy. So I'm going to click and drag and get rid of it. Now it's absolutely empty. So I'm going to design a dance EDM drum beat, and this is where your knowledge of genres really comes into play. I know that in dance music, it's really important to have what's called 4 on the floor. Now you can see that there are four colored columns here. We've got light grey, dark grey, light grey, dark grey. Those signify the beats, so beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. In dance music, you should remember there's something called 4 on the floor, or 4 to the floor, which is when the bass drum, which is this orange one, the kick drum, bass drum, plays on each beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I now have a 4 to the floor drum beat. Sounds lovely. I also know that there's almost always a backbeat being the snare drum. Well, this is a floor tom apparently, so I don't want that. Is this the snare drum? Yes, it is. Snare drum landing on 2 and 4. So skip 1, skip 3, have it on 2 and 4 instead. Sounds like this. Sounds all right. And then lastly, you almost always have the hi-hats, which are these red symbols or these yellow symbols, on the off beats. So not at the beginning of each column, but halfway through them in the third box. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That sounds like this. You might want them on closed hi-hats, so the red one, or you might want it on the yellow ones, which sounds like this. That is a pretty classic EDM drum beat. You might want to be more creative than that. You might want to have constant closed hi-hats like this. If you want, you might want to add in a few more snare drums, say one there. You might want to add in some claps. Why not? Or you might want to just be really creative and just throw things all over the place. Why not? It's up to you. As long as you have that basic backbeat on 2 and 4 and your 4 to the floor bass drums, that, to be honest, is the basis of most EDM beats. Now, if you want to change the drum kit, you can. This isn't the best sounding drum kit for dance music, for EDM at least. So you can see over here it says instrument and then it says 808. 808 is a type of drum pad. So we go on here, there's 909, there's abstract, there's loads of different ones. You can try out all these. I know that the EDM one sounds pretty good, so I'm going to click it and play it again. That sounds a lot more what I'm after. So even though I've just made it in here, I've made this drum beat in here and it sounds great, it isn't actually in my music yet. If I go up here and I click play, if I rewind it and press play, there's no music. There's just a metronome clicking, which I'm going to turn off. To actually add the drums to the music, I need to click add A. The reason it's add A and not add B or C or D is because these are all different drum beats you can make. I've just made drum beat A, so I'm going to click add A. There it is. And that's only 1 bar of music. Let's listen to it. And then it stops. That's way too short. I want it to be longer, so I'm going to drag this for 4 bars. Now I have 4 bars of drums. Awesome. Right, so that was an easy way of making drums. There is another way of making drums that involves adding a track and going on virtual instruments, which is a tab we need to get used to now we're in component 3. Going in there, you can see it starts off with a piano, which I could click on like this, or I could press the keyboard keys. You can see here it says M, I'll press M, does that. If I press N or B, I can actually play the keyboard using my computer keyboard. However, we want to do drums, so if I go over here, instrument, grand piano, and drum kits or drum pads, I can actually select the exact same drum beat, the exact same drum kit, EDM, but this time I have a bunch of cymbals down here, and again I can click on them, or I can press these letters on my keyboard. So S and G is my bass drum and snare drum. So let's see if I can record a drum beat using my computer keyboard. I'm going to get the metronome on so I stay in time. Not bad. So you can see now I've got this huge green box which has got some music written in it and then a bunch of empty space. So let's just get rid of all that empty space. And if I double click on this, it will zoom in a bit and you can see I've got all of these little squares. These squares are where I've pressed the buttons on my keyboard. So if I play it again, you'll see how it works karaoke style. And that sounds okay to me, but it's definitely not perfectly in time. No one is perfect at recording themselves on a keyboard like this. So you can do something called quantization. Quantization is basically cleaning up these tiny little inaccuracies. You could drag everything so it fits with the line, but that would take ages. So I'm literally gonna drag a box around all these notes, and you can either press the quantize button or you can just press the letter Q on your keyboard. You see they all shuffled a little bit. I'll just show you that again. I'm gonna press the button now, and they all moved a tiny bit. They are all now perfectly in time. Lovely. Get into the habit of using that quantize button because it will make all of your music that you put in sound so much better and so much more in time, which is extremely important in dance music, but it's important in every style. Now, as cool as these drums sound, they aren't as good, I don't think, as the drum machine ones I just made. If you're wondering about these buttons I'm clicking on the side here, for every instrument you make, you can either mute it or M. So now this top one is muted, but this bottom one is playing. You can obviously mute both of them, but then there's no noise. You could solo something, which is what S stands for. So now I've soloed the top one. So if you ever want to hear just one part of your mix, just press the solo or mute buttons as you need. I don't really like this green one that I've made. It's okay, but it's not going to work for this track, so I'm going to get rid of it. And now I've just got this blue one. Nice. Right, now I need to add some chord, and this is usually the most time-consuming, laborious, painful bit, and this is where you have to be a bit of a detective, because I'm remixing the song Wonderwall, so I want to use the Wonderwall chords. Now, I've gone onto Google, and I've literally typed in Wonderwall chords keyboard. Why Wonderwall chords keyboard and not just Wonderwall chords? If you type in just chords, you get a bunch of guitar chords. Now, that's fine, but it's not going to help me get these chords onto BandLab. I need to see them in keyboard form. So if I look at them again on the keyboard, I'll get a bunch of responses. You could go on Google itself, but I've gone on Google Images, and I found one here, which is really useful. This is basically the lyrics to the song, but you can see above the lyrics are some chords. So I'm going to go onto this and see if I can zoom in a bit. Okay, there I go. So you can see I've got the lyrics in black, and then above it I've got the chord symbols, so F #M7. That's not an alien language, that is a musical chord symbol. That's telling the keyboard player to play a F sharp minor 7 chord. You do not need to know what that means to put it into BandLab. All you need to be able to do is go onto this website, which I will link you to, called 8notes.com, and in it they have a piano chord chart. So I'm going to figure out exactly what notes are in this F hashtag M7. Whatever that is, if you don't know what that means, don't worry. So F hashtag M7. First of all, I'm going to go in here and find F sharp, F hashtag, there it is. And this is just an F sharp major chord, as you can see. I don't want an F sharp major, I want an F sharp M7. So where is that? If you go in show all chords here, you can see there's loads of choices, and one of them, F hashtag M7. That's the chord I want. Let's look at it. And now I can see the notes I need are F sharp, A, C sharp, and E. That is my money. That is where I need, this is what I need to find. I now need to put this into BandLab. And that means going back to my project, and this time I'm going to add a virtual instrument, and I'm just going to stick with piano for now. I'm going to add a track. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to, excuse me. I'm going to add a region, or create a region like this. I right clicked there, by the way. If you right click, you can see create region or grid size. So I've made an empty region here. In there, I'm going to double click, and I've got all of these piano notes here on the side. I now need to draw in this chord here into BandLab. Once again, it's an F sharp, an A, a C sharp, and an E. You could drag this window to the right of the screen and have BandLab open in the left if you want to do it that way, so you don't have to look back and forth like I'm doing. So I'm going to do it one note at a time. F sharp. F sharp is there. So I'm going to go on my pencil. F sharp. Cool. Next note is an A, it looks like. So let's go back. That's an F sharp, so that's an A. Back to here, I need a C sharp. And then I need an E. So let's do that. So that apparently is an F sharp M7 or an F sharp minor 7. Let's hear it. That sounds pretty cool. And if you're familiar with the song Wonderwall, you will know that that is the first chord in the song. That is what that first chord sounds like. Now remember, with chords, you do not have to have the notes in this exact order. You could, for example, move this A all the way up to another A, so it's now in a different octave. Or if you wanted to move this E all the way up to another E, that's fine. Don't change the notes, don't change the E to an F, because it's no longer the same chord now and it will sound horrible. Ugh. So I'm going to keep it on the E, and I'm going to keep it on this E. But yeah, you could drag this around in different octaves. So instead of starting on this F sharp, I could drag up to the next F sharp. There we go. So that's still the same chord, it's just in a different octave. I preferred this octave though, so I'm going to leave it there. So with the drums, that sounds like this. So that's the first chord done. And now you need to start thinking where the lyrics are eventually going to line up with these chords. So in the original song, you hear a bunch of these F sharp minor chords. I'm not going to copy it exactly like the original. I'm just going to have two of these chords. And to do that, I'm going to highlight the chord, press copy or Control C, and then drag this white line, the playback line, to where it ends, and then Control V or paste it. And now I've got two chords. Let's hear what that sounds like. It's okay. It's not the most interesting rhythm, but it's definitely the right chords. However, I've decided that I don't want it to go there. I'm going to actually have the chord change here. I'm going to have it play once, and then where it stops here, I'm going to have a new chord. Now the next chord in the song apparently is an A, just quite simply an A. So if I go on here, there's A. So I need the notes A, C sharp, and E apparently. So let's go over here. I can memorize that. A, C sharp, and E. Little trick, by the way, if you hold down Control, your mouse will actually turn into the pencil, so you don't need to keep on clicking on the pencil. So if I do this, there's an A, C sharp, and E. The only thing is it won't be in time. You're going to have to drag it in time like this. So now I've got an F sharp minor 7 and an A chord. That sounds like this. Lovely. Next chord in the song apparently is an E sus4. Okay, so if I go on E, and then I need to go on show all chords to find that sus4. Is it in here? There it is, E sus4. And apparently that looks like this, E, A, and B. Okay, off I go. So E, A, and B. Let's line that up so it's a bit neat. Okay, what's that sound like? Cool, that sounds good to me. And then a B7 sus4. Okay, so it's on B, B7 sus4, B7, B7 sus4. There it is. And apparently that's a B, E, F sharp A, B, E, F sharp A, B, E, F sharp A, B, E, F sharp A. The more you do this, the quicker you'll get at remembering where the keyboard notes are. You can see I did that one quite quickly, but that's because I'm used to the keyboard layout. Do not worry if you can't go as quick as this. Let's see what that sounds like. That sounds cool, but it's quite weird having most of the chord notes happen in this sort of area and then suddenly they go downhill. So like I said earlier, I'm going to rearrange these notes. I'm not going to have this B all the way down here on its own. I'm actually going to drag this B all the way up to here. And I could actually keep doing a similar process. There's an E here. I'm going to move that up to here. And I'm going to move this note up to the E there. So these are all, this is the same chord as it was, and this is the same chord it was. When you rearrange the notes around and move them into different octaves, it changes their sound, but it doesn't change their job, it doesn't change their chord name. So this should sound a bit more smooth. Cool, I like that. And as with most chord progressions, they don't just play once and then stop. They repeat a lot, so I'm going to copy all of this. Actually, no, I'm going to do it another way. I'm going to go out of this, and I'm going to drag this box. If I go in the corner, I can drag it. So that's one cycle of that chord progression. I can now drag this loop thing over, and it will repeat forever. Cool. For the purposes of simplicity though, I'm not going to loop it forever. I'm now going to zoom in a bit more because this sounds fine, but what I really want now is a bass note. So I need to use these chords here, or rather I need to use these chords here to help me build the bass line. Now bass lines are almost always the note in the name of the chord. So this chord's called F sharp minor 7. That note F sharp, the F hashtag, that is all I need to know to make my bass note. So I'm now going to go back into BandLab and make a new track, new virtual instrument, and this time it's going to be for a bass guitar. So not a grand piano, but a bass. Let's go for retro pick bass. And I'm going to make a new region like I did before. This one's yellow, that's fine. And I'm going to go into the keyboard editor, and you can see some notes are grayed out. That simply means I cannot pick those notes. They're either too low or too high, but these ones that are white, those ones are fine. So the first chord was an F sharp M7. I can ignore that M7. I just need the F sharp. So where's an F sharp? Here's an F sharp. Cool, let's draw in an F sharp. And it was about this long, I believe. Cool. And then the next one is an A, so simply find the note A and draw another one. Next one was E and then B. So I can remember that. E is here and B is here. Cool, so now I should have my bass line. Let's solo it to check. Nice one, and with the piano. That works, that's cool. So I'm going to keep it soloed so I can hear what I'm doing to it. That's supposed to be an electric bass guitar, so like a real instrument. We want a synth instrument because they sound much more EDM. So I'm going to go on here and go into synth basses, and let's try, I don't know, let's try deep house. Let's see what that sounds like. That sounds more like it. And I am actually going to change this rhythm as well because I'm getting a bit bored of these long held notes. So a quick way to do that, instead of just dragging one shorter and then drawing another one like that, we can be a bit cleverer than that. And I'm going to highlight the whole thing, and then I'm going to drag one of them shorter. This drags all of them shorter. And then I'm going to drag them all exactly halfway. They're now half the size they were. I'm going to copy, and I'm going to put the playback line here, and I'm going to paste. And now I've pasted the same thing in, and now everything is twice as fast. I could do that again if I want it to be really quick. I could select it all, half its size, copy it, put the line in the gap, and paste. And now you hear each note 4 times before it changes. That sounds pretty cool. If you want to be even more fancy than that, you can select every other one, and in this case I'm going to click on this one, hold down Control, and click, oh that's not worked, sorry, hold down Shift, and click every other note, and I'm going to slide all of these up an octave, because I know that that will sound cool, that will make it sound really quite effective. So let's listen to that. So what I've done there, I've literally turned these notes, F sharp, A, E, and B, I've turned them into an actual bass line that does stuff, and it's quite exciting. It's not just these long held notes, which are okay, but a little bit stale. It now sounds like music. Let's hear it with the piano. And with the drums. Lovely. And again, we could shorten this down to how big it should be, and then just loop it for as long as we want. The piano sounds okay, but it's definitely not giving me the EDM house music vibe that I am after, so I'm going to change it. I don't want a grand piano anymore. I'm going to change it to some kind of synth, and there's loads of synths to choose from. Let's just try a few. This one's called Rhythm Partner. So that's already so much cooler. I'm not sure if it's the right one though, so let me try, I don't know, Retro Synth Brass. Maybe not. And let's try another one. How about Pumping Anthem? Maybe not. Let's try one more before I give up. Lo-Fi Saw. That's alright, that's quite cool. So to be honest, that is a really solid start for a cover of Wonderwall in a house style, because you've now got the chords, the green one, you've got the bass line, and you've got drums. All that's missing now is some kind of singing. And you can imagine someone singing over the top of this quite simply, because you've got your lyrics here. Most people will know how this song goes. You can imagine someone singing over the top like this. Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have da 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 da, or whatever the lyrics are. I've forgotten them, as you can see. You can imagine that easily sliding into place here, and you just have to repeat this process really with the rest of the song, which sounds like a mountain to do. I've obviously been talking for about 23 minutes now. To do this for a whole song takes a while, but you have a while to do this, and you will get faster, and you won't be talking like I am when doing this. You will be just getting on with it. Another final few decorative things you might want to do, especially for a EDM house style, is add some kind of effects. So I'm going to click on the plus FX, and I'm going to add some kind of delay, because delay makes everything better, I think. I'm going to go in here, and there's loads of different ones. I'm going to go on ping pong delay, because it sounds cool. And let's hear what that sounds like to start with. Sounds a bit strange. I find a general rule for delay. If you drag this left delay thing here, instead of it saying quarter beats, you want it to say eighth beat, but with a little dot next to it. And what that means is it's going to delay your music by a dotted quaver. Now, if that sounds a bit too complicated, don't worry. It basically means it sounds cool. So if I hear that with the other instruments. Sounds cool. It does sound a bit loud. The echo's a little bit loud, but I can control how loud the echo is over here. You can see it says mix. So this is how loud the echoes are. I'm going to turn it down to about 40% and see what that sounds like. That's much better. The actual echo is nowhere near as loud as it was. I'm going to make it even quieter, in fact, 29. And yeah, so now it's just a case of recording in your lyrics, adding in some special effects. You might have noticed I've used no loops here. Everything on this screen I've made from scratch. That is ideally how you should be working. You can still use loops, you can use sound effects, but really you should be making your chords from scratch. Now I say from scratch, remember, I've not made up these chords from thin air. I've just stolen them from this sheet here, and I've had to turn them into piano diagrams. But once I've done that, it really just is a copy and paste job. So this is doable. This is really, really doable, guys. And it will take a while to start with, but you will get faster and faster. If you wanted to change the style, let's say you didn't want to go for a EDM style, you might want to go for a rock style. It's the exact same process, but instead of using a lo-fi saw and a deep house bass and a EDM drums, you'll use different instruments, and you also might not have the exact same drum pattern, and you might not have the bass line going up and down in octaves like this. You'll change the way you write those chords and that bass line, but you will still be using the exact same chords. This is your blueprint, if you like. You have to turn it into real music. And the more you know about your genres, the more you know about house, pop, rock, disco, reggae, jazz, blues, whatever, the more you know about your styles, the easier this will be. So I'm going to leave this video there, and I hope it proves useful. I will probably make some more videos to accompany this. I know it's been a long video, but just rewind it, play back things you need to play back again, and you will get better and better as you go. And that's all from me.